Good morning, everyone. Let me just add my other head here. And what happened? There I am. Anyway, good morning. I just wanted to come and do a fun little project because I haven't seen many people doing cards with any of the chocolate short transfers. And I really thought that, as a card maker, that's something I really dig. So I'm really kind of interested to see how this turns out. I saw a couple tutorials where they said that basically Bristol paper doesn't require any waxing or other surface prep. So we're going to see if that's the case or not. Because I got these cool summer vibes transfers, and that's the one I want to use just because it's the middle of winter and I'm really needing some summer vibes right now. Let me see. So I was thinking of a couple different ones. I want to try some of the new in vogue colors. This is orchid and this is eucalyptus. They're both shimmer colors, so they're a little bit sparkling, and everyone likes that on cards. So two things at the same time, right? So here we go. I really want to do the flamingo in the orchid because I think that would look pretty cool. And my aunt is really into flamingos. I think you always think of flamingos as being like coral, basically, but I think you could do any color you want because their color actually changes with their diet. So, because they can go from like vibrant pink to less vibrant pink. This eucalyptus seems like a very like gardeny vegetal kind of color. So, I think I will probably do like maybe garden vibes only. I know a couple people who just are absolutely in love with their garden. So, I think that one would go well. I like Sunshine on My Mind and More Trips and Aloha. I like basically this whole set. So let me get these cut apart and then we can get going. I did pre-cut some Bristol paper into essentially card panel size for an A2 card, which I think was, I don't remember exactly, 5 1/4 by 4. So there's that guy. And just a note about these mini transfers, these white lines that I'm cutting on, they will actually print. So you kind of want to be careful getting towards the edge. So there's our flamingo. Maybe I'll just grab the watering can. I think the watering can would look good in green. Seems, fairly fitting. Just to kind of give you an idea of what I was thinking of. So these are the card panels. So I think this size will look really good on them. I think this month's club transfer has this bicycle that I think would look super dope on a card too, especially around here in Madison where biking is a huge deal. So I think I'm going to go with those. So I like these colors. I also grabbed some pattern paper that I think would go well. So I thought this would go really well with the flamingo. Although I don't know, both of them would. And I think this with the green would look really cool because there's some green, and it's a cooler yellow, which I actually like. It feels more like a spring yellow than a summer yellow to me. But anyway, see if there's anything. Oh, I'll show you how this all would go together then. So I've got these bright card bases that then you could go and put this guy on, and then you could either, you could border it this way, although I'd probably border it on one side and use it more as something like that, essentially. And I think because of the shimmer paste, it'll add enough interest where you won't have to do too much. And then I have some really neat peel and stick sentiments that say all sorts of different things. I don't know. I'm not going to finish the card I'm giving away just because I don't know what whoever wins is going to want to do with it. So, I think that's going to be an interesting one to see what people pick out because I have way too many stamps and sentiments and all sorts of other things. So it can pretty much be customized however the winner wants it. But for this one, it is made for one of my aunts who I pretty much know what sentiments she'd like. But I mean, there's a bunch of great ones here, like "You Are Enough," "Be Brave with Your Life." What seems ordinary is often extraordinary. Actually, I like that one for the flamingo for some reason. I don't know anyone who thinks flamingos are ordinary, but details. It's my card and it can be as weird as I want. Anyway, and I have a bunch more colors. These come in a bunch of colors. I think I picked these up at Michael's or something, but I mean, the green seemed really spring-like, but there's a whole bunch of other options too. So, again, lots of options. It's kind of the nice part about cards. There's always a lot of options. So, let's get started. I'm going to grab my fuzzing cloth because these are brand new and they're going to be really sticky. Because it's going on paper and I don't want it to rip, I definitely want to make sure that these are less sticky than I would want otherwise, just because ripping up the paper wouldn't be that great. This is a 100-pound-ish Bristol paper, so you can see it's a fairly, heavy-duty cardstock. It's my preferred weight because it can hold up to water really well. So if you decide to do other stuff, you have a lot of options, I guess is what I'm saying. Which is what I always like in cards, because sometimes I just change my mind in the middle of it and decide to do something else. So this has been about 5 times. It's still pretty sticky. I'm going to, let's do a couple more. And that's the cat. If you heard him. He thinks he's part of the internet too. Okay, I think this is better. This doesn't feel like, this feels like moderately tacky, but not like it's going to be challenging to get off. And since I'm going to keep a border at the bottom, I'm going to try and just sort of square this guy. And if it doesn't work out, we can just move it. And the nice thing about this mat I'm working on is it has lines, so I can kind of get a sense, but we'll see. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going over it to make sure there's no bubbles so I get good contact. And because this thing is so small, I probably can just use one of my mixing tools, because I don't think I'll really need to get too crazy with it. This is brand new. Both of these are actually in Vogue colors, so they're going away at the end of this particular season. But this feels pretty good, and you can definitely see it has a lot of glitter in it, or mica, or whatever there is in there. I always think like the cool part about these transfers is like you just get to like peel and reveal it and see what happens. Well, I think I can do a little more than that. But not much. A little paste basically goes a long way. And this one specifically doesn't have a ton. It is probably good too, especially when working on paper. Just make sure that you get any excess off and you are cleaning your fingers. I'm just putting the rest of this back in the jar because you can see I needed almost none. And I'm being pretty careful to like keep my hands clean, or as clean as they can be. I have a bad habit of getting this kind of stuff all over myself on a regular basis, but which is the time it's nice to have a towel. So that works out pretty well too. Now I think all we need to do is just peel this off and see how it comes out. I'm checking my hands just because even though I think I could get this off of paper, it's a pretty absorbent substance, so I don't want to, I don't want to try. If I don't have to, that's better. I also like to generally try and peel the paper away from anything I'm putting on this paper, just because it's a little bit easier. So I got under the corner, so I think this should just come off, and well, that looks pretty awesome. I am going to run this into the sink quickly. And I'm going to come back and do the other one. That one should just take a minute to dry. Yeah, even though it hasn't dried, you can really see how sparkly this is getting. I don't know. I just actually really like this color. It's interesting. I thought it would, like, if you look at it in the jar, it's more vibrant than it seems to be once it hangs out for a while. Or it could just be a side effect of doing it on paper, too. Sometimes, depending on the surface, it might make things look a little bit different. So let's grab another card panel. I actually cut 4 in case I wind up screwing one up, because that's just a thing I sometimes do. And here we go. So this, I think, I don't know, I almost like this a lot with the, like this color palette. Well, like this color palette, I think works really well together. So I'm going to do exactly the, actually, I'm going to clean off this tool first. Or I may just try and use a squeegee in the other one, because definitely got that. Just to show you guys the difference. Anyway, let me put this over here. And I'm fuzzing this one again to just make sure that it doesn't have too much sticky. I actually had no issues getting it off, which makes things nice. I know that generally for paper-like products, the recommendation tends to be to wax them first. So I was curious if this would actually work with Bristol paper. Bristol's got a coating on it, essentially, which is why it's so smooth and so good for markers and things of that nature. I'm actually using a recycled one because why not? I mean, I can't tell the difference between recycled papers and non, usually. Let's see how this looks. That looks pretty square to me. And if you see this little writing on the bottom, like that's not going to print through. So let's try it this slightly different way. Just going to, I mixed this up a little earlier, but I'm just going to grab a little off the edge here. It's an interesting product because it really feels like a heavy body acrylic. Like if you were just sort of describing its texture, it's semi-thick, but not that, still easy to move around. So now this guy, you can like really see all the shimmeriness right up front, which is interesting because with the orchid, it kind of came out over time. Just grab a little more because I need a little for the edge here. Generally, it's better to apply too much and then just sort of scrape off, and then anything that comes off, and anything that doesn't. Because the transfer is a silk screen, if you leave glops on, it is somewhat noticeable. So that is good. I will close this guy up. Like, this is just crazy. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but in person, like, you see all these little glittery bits. And shout out to this guy. I just love this detail tool. I also like to make sure my hands are clean way too much because it'd be annoying to have to start over. Anyway, I love this is called the detail tool, but I love the nylon like pokey bit. It's basically built like a straight weeding tool. And here we go. And That one turned out really nice too. So I am going to grab these guys and I am going to go off camera for a second and clean them, and I will be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. But my new video is it? There we go. That's better. So yeah, this took not too long to rinse all the paste off of these. Like it took maybe 10 seconds. And then here are the transfers. They are still wet, so I'm going to dry them off briefly and then let them dry sticky side up on the fuzzing cloth while we're working on the rest of this stuff. And then as soon as they're dry, I can put them back on the backing. In fact, both of these are pretty sticky already, so they should be dry pretty quick. But here are the two. I really like the watering can. Um, like the sparkle on it is very pronounced, and I would think finishing it with this and then like a sentiment, that's all you're gonna need, and then mounting it on the card, of course. So I'm going to save this one for the giveaway. So any gardeners, feel free to reach out because I think it looks pretty dope. I'm going to finish this one for my aunt. I am going to. I don't know if I love this. It's not quite as vibrant as it could be. I feel like you need another sort of beefy color in there. So let's see what we can do. That's sort of my favorite part about card making is like, if you just you can always just sort of change your mind. Here's where they went. So I had some scraps left over from cutting these down. So I think I can just like directly ink blend on this and then use that and just find sort of a color that's sort of more vibrant, because I feel like this against a pastel, you really kind of need something vibrant. Let's see. Now this Fiesta blue would be pretty dope. Since blue and red are adjacent colors to purple, I think they would work. Plus, this is like a really Floridian blue. Also, this green might be nice. I'm not feeling the green. Or we could break into this pink. I mean, the pink and the purple. I think I'll go with the blue. I think the blue actually is where I would go with this. So I am going to I'm going to first get this out of the way so I don't accidentally dye it, and it can like continue to just dry while we deal with the rest of this. And I'm just going to try and get a pretty good load of blue. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to start working from the edges and then sort of blend in. And I'm just sort of looking for like a ocean-y kind of color, which looks like it'll take about 2 seconds to get. One benefit of Bristol paper is like it is really nice to ink blend on because of the coating. So you get sort of this nice, I don't know, sky or ocean or whatever. I mean, kind of look almost immediately. Just make sure my fingers aren't going to, I think that looks really nice. Although I think I want to darken it up a little bit just because that flamingo is looking so awesome. I don't want the rest of the card to be all jealous of that. There we go. That's more of the saturated kind of look I was hoping for. Yeah. And sometimes you can come in from the edge if you're worried that you're going to like ink blend too much, because it's hard to get off, but you can sort of start from the edges and work in too. Yeah, I like this. It's a pretty tonal. Yeah, that works out pretty nicely. So I am pleased with that. I will put that away and try not to dye my fingers a weird shade of something. Well, the other thing we could do is kind of layer this behind, especially at like if you got because this would kind of do a more subtle thing. How do I feel about that? I kind of really like that actually. So I think I'll do that. So we just need to basically stack these together with tape runners and then cut off the excess, which is, we're spending about 3 seconds. This has been a pretty easy card to put together because, I mean, the chalk thing is the most complicated part, and that took about 5 seconds to do. So I am going to throw some tape runner down, and then I am going to start with this guy. And it kind of didn't work. I wanted to, but that's okay. The one bad thing about tape runner is once it's down, it's kind of down. But you can always sort of recut things if they get a little wonky. Because no one really knows what this thing is supposed to look like other than you. So that's sometimes a real benefit. Okay. So I'm liking how this is looking. I'm just pushing down with my fingers, although you can always use a air hockey paddle because they're fuzzy on the bottom, so they're really good for pressing down on stuff like this to make sure you have good adherence before you figure out where you put your scissors. And actually, let me put the cap on the pokey tool before I forget about that, because that's one of those things I'm sure I'll lose at some point in the near future, but it'll be fine. So I am just cutting off the excess. Then we have sort of a little bit peeking through of the pattern, and I like how that looks. Now this is for my aunt, so let's find a saying that, or I guess I should say an intention that matches her pretty well. I like the extraordinary one, but I feel like I've used that in a card before. I like Don't Forget to Fly. I think I'll go with that one. I think I'll do it in the black because I think the black would offset really nicely against the blue. And sometimes these things are kind of wonky. And I've also found that sometimes the adhesive isn't that great, but I think we will just, it's not going to want to glue down very nicely. So I am going to move that for a second. And I've become a big fan of these like micro glue bottles. So I'm just going to hopefully put it there. Or I jammed it. That's too bad. Well, that's kind of a experiment too. The one thing that's hard is they require like a really liquidy glue to work well. So what do I want to use? I think I have a new glue I haven't tried here, which is the Mono Aqua, which looks pretty good because I mean I don't know, I like the Tombow Mono or the Tombow Mono line generally for glues, but I've typically used the multi whatever one that comes in a green and white bottle. Here we go. And this thing has a really nice sort of, yeah, you can see it's got a very fine applicator, which is just what we want here. So glue is down, and now we need to be semi-careful that we don't glue this somewhere we don't want to. I'm going to just move it over a little. There we go. And should be good in a couple of minutes. The Tombow glue, the one pro or con of the Tombow glues is they dry really fast. So like once it's down, it's pretty much down. Like this will be dry very shortly. And speaking of being dry, my transfers are fully dry, so I am going to put them back on the backer sheets so that the stickiness is protected. A little glitter stayed on the transfer, but that's fine. Basically, it doesn't matter as long as the screen printing area is clean. Like if the transfers get a little sparkly or a little, shaded by something, and oh my, huh? The cat just had a thing happen that I'm not sure what that is, but it seemed very important because he basically like ran up the cat tree at maximum speed. But anyway, life with pets, it's always interesting. And the Flamingo is totally clean as well. So these we have for another day because they're good for basically at least 8 uses, but a lot of people have gotten far more out of them. Kind of depends on you. Uh, I'm not really feeling the green card for this particular color combo, so let's see. Black would look nice. Or there's always a classic pink. What does that look like together? Oh, I like that very much. Okay, so all we need to do is stick this guy down, and we are done. And I don't know. I used to use the small tape rollers, but I love this big one so much. Like it just makes life so much easier. Sometimes the small ones, like they would break or do other things. Anyway, I'm a big fan. So I'm being careful because once this goes down, it's not going to move. And that looks pretty good. So I will press that out. And the Flamingo is totally dry at this point. So you can really start to see the sparkliness. I should put this a little more like here. I don't know. It's a little difficult to tell, but it is really sparkly in person. Nice saying, and just ready to have a nice message put into it. So I am very happy with how this came out, and I think the recipient will be as well. So if you are catching this either now or on the replay, feel free to drop a comment, and I will be giving away this one plus or minus any additions. I think something like this would look really good, and then also with a black sentiment on it. or white. I mean, I have them in both colors depending on your particular preferences. But I like a contrast, especially if you have something that's a little bit busy. Anyway, thanks to anyone who watched or anyone who's watching on the replay, and I hope everyone else has a lovely Sunday. See you probably next weekend for another tutorial on using chalkology paste. Or maybe ink. I have some things I want to try ink on as well, and some other things. I don't know. I have way too many projects in my mind, so I will talk to you guys later. Thank you.